Hello, this is Aline from MasterYourWeb. You're watching HTML tutorial for absolute beginners, and in this video we'll talk about HTML comments. So let's begin. Alright, so the first question may be, what are HTML comments and how they could be useful to us in order to write better HTML code? Well, a comment is basically a text which is not taken into consideration by the browser. But why? Why shouldn't the browser take into consideration my text? Then why am I even wasting my time to write it in the first place? Well, let's say that you work in a team with Bob and Mary, you're all writing HTML code, and you're working a lot on the same file. What if one day Bob and Mary decide to create a new div to our existing application with a span in it, or something pretty complex, whatever. And inside that span, Bob would write, "This is my awesome feature that me and Mary have built." Well, maybe your first reaction would be, "Screw you, Bob, screw you and your stupid feature." Then your second reaction would be, "Well, to be honest, I don't understand that much about that new feature." In those sort of scenarios, comments kick in. Bob actually has the option to write a comment saying something like, okay, this feature is gonna print a text on a screen, or something much more complex, most likely. And of course that now you feel illuminated by that text.
Oh my god! Wow!
And although that example was a pretty silly one, the true power of comments is to add extra information about some piece of code. You see, when you work in a team, or when you have a big file, it's getting harder and harder to know what each line of code is doing, and adding some extra information about what you actually plan to do with that line help both other programmers and also your future self. Another usage of comments is to disable a piece of code for some time. Let's say that you're working on a company and the manager comes to you and says, "Alright Tom, you have to add an awesome image with a cat to our website. That's going to increase the sales by 1000%. After spending precious time in adding that image, your manager comes and says, "You know Tom, I was wrong about the sales. They barely increase at all. Let's try to replace the cat with a dog. Maybe it's going to be better, who knows?" And what you can do is basically change the code every time, or you could make use of comments and just comment the code which adds the image of the cat, and that's it. After a few months, if you will notice that there won't be any changes to the code, then you could easily remove it. Great, now that we've seen the benefits of adding comments to our HTML code, let's actually create a few comments. And for that, the structure is gonna be like this. We will have the smaller than sign, then we will have a exclamation mark, 2 hyphens, and after that we will have 2 hyphens and then the greater than sign. And you can see that the font is green, and especially in Visual Studio Code, and I think that for other IDEs is basically the same. This marks the fact that we are dealing with a comment. So we can write, "This is a simple comment," and we can create a paragraph in which we can write, "This is my paragraph." Let's try to save it and look into the browser. Okay, so let's actually try to inspect it. And we'll see that, okay, we have our paragraph, but then we have our simple comment, right? Which is not being displayed in the browser at all, except for the developer tools, basically this one over here. And yeah, that's basically it. So maybe instead of this is a simple comment, we will write something like, "This section will be responsible for adding paragraphs." Makes a bit more sense. Alright, and then we can create another comment saying that this section will be responsible for adding spans. And down here we will create our spans, right? Span 1, span 2, whatever. So I think that you get the idea. A really small note over here, we can actually write comments on multiple lines. For instance, if you have a complex comment, it's generally a lot better to write it on multiple lines, and we can easily do that as following. So we basically have our comment, and what we can do is press enter, and then we will write line 1, line 2, line 3, and so on and so forth. And let's actually look into the browser. So we will see like the first comment, the second comment, and then our third comment. And as I mentioned, if you have pretty big comments, then it's a lot better to basically split them on multiple lines, so the effort in reading those will be a lot smaller. Alright, so it's gonna be time for our exercise. We would like to create 5 different paragraphs and comment 3 out of them. It's gonna be a pretty simple exercise, but it's gonna be important to get as much practice as you can, since that's the best way of learning web development. So we'll see you in about 15 seconds. Good luck! Alright, time's up! So let's actually see how it's done. So we said that we will write 5 paragraphs. Paragraph 1, and let's try to copy it 4 more times. And we'll have paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Nope, 5. Great. And we said that we will comment 3 out of them. So let's try to comment the first one. And this is going to be pretty simple. And then we will do the same thing for other 2 paragraphs. Okay, and the last one. Okay, let's try to save it and look into the browser, and then we are being left with only 2 paragraphs. Great! Now that we've learned something useful today, our next video will be even more interesting since we will be talking about lists. Let's see each other then. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the content and if you consider that it's at least 1% relevant, then please leave a like, a share, and subscribe to the channel for more content. We'll see you on the next one.